Where or when did you see an opportunity for neck rehab to change?
Yeah, so I was coming up as a physical therapy student at the University of Southern California. And of course, we spend a lot of time in the clinic as students, and that's your first exposure to the world, and what's going on, what kind of equipment's there, what things are new, what things are old. And I just remember like seeing the exercises that were done for the neck, like for example, chin tucks, and then progressions from there, which would be wrapping bands around your head or pushing your head against a ball into a wall. But then you contrast that with like a beautiful knee extension machine, or all the beautiful like body blade for the shoulder, anything, the blood flow restriction for all the other parts of the body. And then we're using these like super archaic strategies for the neck, and so it just didn't really compute with me. And obviously I think I've taken advantage of that.
Yeah, and certainly the exercises kind of make us look silly after a while. If anyone out there has done a chin tuck and what it looks like, it kind of you're bringing your chin closer to your neck, and you're just basically trying to make us see how many chins you have as possible. And so it's not ideal when you're trying to work out your neck that you're kind of looking like a doofus at the same time.
Yeah, certainly not. And if bringing some swagger to the profession is never a bad thing, like blood flow restriction, all these sexy exercises that we have now. Who would want to do things that make them look stupid, right? So no one wants to show up at a clinic where there's 10 eyeballs on them at all times and do some dumb looking exercise. And so that's another reason that I think the next level has been popular so far.
Of course. And we say dumb exercises, and they're not necessarily bad in the way, we use them. They're very effective. It's just when you're doing them in clinic, you can see how it's just it makes patients a little bit less comfortable in doing them at home, or maybe doing them on their own because it's difficult to do.
Right. And like the worst case scenario for me, at least, is when my patient turns to me and like, really, like, you want me to do that? Like, I have to do that in front of everybody right here. And it's like, yeah, that's the prescribed exercise. So you're going to do it. And I'm going to go hide in a corner.
Now, were you seeing a lot of patients with neck pain prior to the thought of having doing like creating a product?
No, no, just as much as everybody else, an orthopedic physical therapist, whatever, 10, 20, 30% of the caseload, just like the standard PT.
Now, was there always an idea in your head to build a device, or when did you start thinking of, okay, I have an idea to build a device. I just know what it's going to be, but I think there's something that can be improved here.
Yeah, it's tough to nail down. I think in PT school, like the idea was floating through my head, for some sort of product that can be used for lying down and turning your head back and forth. But that was one among many different ideas that I was having at the time, and all these different things that I could go and shoot towards. And then I went to do a residency in physical therapy and orthopedics, and so that was kind of put on the back burner again. So they were floating in my head, and I remember finishing up residency. I was like, all right, you got to pick something here. You got to pick something. You got to go with it, because yes, treating patients in the clinic is good and I enjoy it, but it's not something I want to do for the next 40 years of my life. So I need a way that I can provide for the community of physical therapists from a different angle. And so I started off, I looked at all the different options I had. And the thing that made the most sense was this neck exercise device, because I knew I could make a prototype of it like that same day. So I was like, all right, I've never tried anything like this. Let's just give it a go. I've never been a tinkerer. I've never been an engineering type background guy, nothing like that. But I gave the first prototype a whirl, and here we are a few years later, which is just kind of crazy to think about.
Yeah, my way of giving back to the physical therapy community, hopefully, is through this podcast. But you know, yeah, I think it was easy for me to think of how to spread information in regards to like taking the first step. It's like, okay, I want to do a podcast, and then you can easily look up the first steps of how to be like just start a podcast. But I guess what are the first steps, or like what were the first things that you did to start building your product? Because I don't even know what the first step would be to even start.
Yeah, it's a good question. And I assume you're talking about inventions, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so an invention is a kind of a different bear than any other business because there's intellectual property involved. So intellectual property is something that you can claim as your own through the US Patent and Trademark Office. So you have to file a patent, and then if the trademark office comes back and says, "Yes, this is an original idea. This can be your idea and it's now going to be assigned to you." And others that infringe on your patent, you can go after them in a lawsuit. So that's the idea behind a patent. It gives you exclusive rights to produce your product, or I shouldn't say that. It gives you exclusive rights to pursue others from creating your product, if that makes sense. So, okay, so you have this idea, you want to make an invention. So you have to make some prototypes. So you want to see if, if your idea is going to be effective in the world. Like, it's one thing up in your brain, but it's a whole nother thing if you can put it down into the physical world. So you put together some prototypes, and you have to do this on the down low, right? So you can't share your idea or you can't share your prototype with others unless you've gone through the non-disclosure agreements. So you have, it's what's called an NDA. Billie Eilish just came out with a song called NDA. The non-disclosure agreement is something that they would sign saying that they will not tell anyone about this product or invention. And then they're sworn to secrecy so that you can show them, and then it's remained confidential. So all the way up until you file your patent with the US Patent and Trademark Office, you have to be, completing NDAs or just not telling anyone about the product. You engage a patent attorney, someone who can write up the patent for you, or if you're super smart and better than I, you can write it up yourself. But that just was not the path for me. I had no shot at it. So, the patent attorney who knows what he's doing, he's done it 1,000 times. My guy John was fantastic. And so then you file the patent, and then after that, you're allowed to speak it. You're allowed to show people it. You don't have to worry about it because you have what's called a priority date. With the priority date, you have the right to that idea so long as no one filed the same thing prior to you.
Interesting. And I'm sure it must have been difficult when you're working with patients and they're like, man, these exercises tough. I wish there was something else. And you're probably like, yeah, I know. I really wish there was another exercise tool we could use.
Yeah, that was going through my head for about a year.
So
It's really nice to be on the other side of that.
I'm sure it is. And how many prototypes did you have? I mean, you went through the whole licensing agreement, but you have to pick a certain prototype or at least an idea that you're going to run with. And so how many prototypes did you have and like how many things did you scrap?
I have this big cardboard box in my basement. It's like 4 feet wide, 4 feet long in every direction. It's just filled with old prototypes. Um, there's so many ugly ones, so many terrible ideas. I don't have an exact number because, say a prototype worked well, then I iterate on top of that. And so one prototype has all these little brothers that come after it. So I don't have an exact number for you, but I can say 20, 30, 40, something like that.
A lot of trial and error then.
A lot of trial and error, and that's the fun part. Like, I you know I'm now becoming what seems like a businessman, a salesman. That stuff is really scary for me, but the engineering part of it, the prototyping part of it, that really just came pretty naturally because you just want what you're doing to feel good, and you're like, no, that doesn't feel right, what's wrong with it? Okay, make a little tweak, and then you learn how to use your hands and use tools. And I could barely use like a screwdriver when I first started prototyping this bad boy, but now I'm proficient with a drill, so that's a good thing.
You put that on your LinkedIn profile immediately.
It's already there.
It's already
Uh,
there.
oh yeah, yeah.
Well, maybe
Socket
physical,
set proficient.
right. Well, maybe physical therapy can have a course for building devices, and maybe that'll help future clinicians build devices.
It's something I think about a lot because physical therapists have such a unique skill set, right? So we can look like someone can point to their shoulder. We can probably guess what's going on. We can probably use our hands to make it feel better. And we can probably give out some exercises to make someone do better and get rid of their pain. And that's like a superpower. And so I feel like, yeah, we have this cool tool to use in clinics, right? So we can treat patients, we can work with them, give them exercises, do hands-on treatment. But also there's like so many other ways that we can provide our resources and our tools to the world. Like, if you look at the other physical products that have been created by physical therapists, like, Steve Siddell, he's the inventor of the neck hammock. And, this is a unique traction device. And it's just this, I think it's $49 on Amazon. And he's made a killing off this beautiful product that's done so well. Then you look like the prehab guys, if you know them, group
Mhm.
of 3 physical therapists. They were 2 classes above me at USC in PT school. And so I'm friends with them from a distance. And look at all the digital product that they're making right now. Like, they're adding so much value for, the athletic, body interested, competitor or person, gym goer, and they're able to diagnose and treat their own symptoms with all the, the digital programming that the prehab guys have made up. So yes, I think physical therapists should use their tool belt, and then look at the world and look at how they can treat, and look at how they can help people from like the different lens outside of just in the clinic. And so yeah, I'd be happy to create a little I don't know, class for how I did it, for how physical product became what I'm interested in now. One thing to note is the 3D printer makes everything more feasible, much faster, much cheaper than before. So you're able to prototype and create some pretty amazing things in a short period of time without breaking the bank. So, and I'm not receiving any money from 3D printing companies or anything like that. But there's so much you can do right now, and it's such an exciting time to be alive. The internet's an amazing place, and I'm very thankful for being a PT, and then trying to go after things in a different angle.
Certainly. And I think that's what brought me to physical therapy ultimately is the versatility. I mean, there's so many different avenues. And if there isn't an avenue that exists, you can kind of create it yourself. And that's kind of what you're doing with your product is you're creating this kind of niche within a niche market for neck strengthening exercises. And
Yeah.
overall, I guess, did you have any help? You said you didn't have any expertise before trying to build devices. And so did you have help along the way for building your device?
Oh, 100%. Yeah. Yeah. The product that you'll see today is, it feels like 1% me and 99% help. So many people have touched it in one way or another. Mechanical engineers that were kind enough to offer their assistance, and, um, you know, industrial designers, all the patients, neighbors, family members that gave me feedback early on and said, no, this doesn't feel good. Yes, this feels good. So, so many, like probably like, hundreds of people have put their little touch on the device. And, I could probably look at it and go through each little step of the way. But, one patient who was an engineer also, I can think that he and I, a conversation between us, we talked about how the bands would be held and suspended, and then that we would have put an angle on it so that all the bands could be accessed at any one time. And that was all me and one patient who's an engineer. And so so many people have had an impact on the product and how it looks today. So no, it was not all me by any means.
Well, why don't we describe more about it? I mean, so that way everyone can get an idea in their head what exactly it is. Why don't we describe what the device is, and if you, for people who are watching over a video, maybe I don't know if you have it next to you or something that you can show.
No, I don't have one in here. I should have brought one in.
That's okay,
uh,
but maybe describe in your own words what exactly it is.
Yeah, certainly. It To start, it is not like a Elon Musk's Starship or anything like that. Like, this is a pretty simple product. It is a sliding mechanism that's about yay big. There's a slider on the top, a base on the bottom, and then you can add resistance bands to that slider so that the board doesn't want to move. So from there, you can do range of motion exercises for the neck, strengthening exercises for the neck, and I should say it's used in supine. So you put it underneath your head, similar to the position of a pillow, and you can turn your head back and forth. You can do isometric holds. There's a lot of things that you can do to strengthen the neck, mobilize the neck. And yeah, I would just say go check it out on neckslevel.com or our Instagram. I'm not great at describing it verbally.
Yeah, no, I'll provide show links so people can go take a look at it, and I'll provide a link to your website so that way people can go and look at it. But I guess why was it resistance bands? Why was it the easiest thing to think of in regards to just like it made the most sense, or was this just a product of trial and error to go with the resistance bands for the machine?
Yeah. So, I mean, the resistance bands were one way that I could add resistance, right? So there's a variety of ways that you can add resistance to a slider like that. You could have just had a knob that you'd turn and that cranks up something pushing in and that causes friction. So that could have been one way to go about adding resistance. That's what they do with the Iron Neck. If you're familiar with that product, that's a different neck strengthening product, and they just turn a dial and that adds resistance for the rotation. I went with the resistance bands because I like the feel the most. There's something about the input that you get from a resistance band that builds as you turn. I thought that felt the best, and it offered the opportunity to do a couple more exercises. So you can do an isometric hold, you can do eccentrics, you can do concentrics with a dial, which would just put pressure and add friction. All you can do is concentric strengthening. So the bands were a no-brainer as soon as I felt how effective it was, and and patients have agreed.
Yeah, certainly. And you mentioned one of your competitors. Are there a lot of competitors in this space? Because it seems like neck strengthening exercises have started to gain a little bit of popularity. And maybe are there a lot of other competitors in their space?
I'm aware of a few, and they're competitors from the sense that we offer neck strengthening products. If that is a competitor, there's so many ways to strengthen the neck, just like there's so many ways you could strengthen the pecs, for example. Like, just because someone invented a way to do a bench press doesn't mean that there wasn't room to invent a fly machine. So, we got the Iron Neck, we got the Neckslevel. There's a few other harness systems that are used like in a standing position where it's wrapped around their head and there's a resistance band coming off of it. So Iron Neck, and there's a couple other systems like that. To my knowledge, the Neckslevel is the only thing that is a technology. It seems unique at this time. No direct competitors.
Well, one of its own, of course. And I guess why has neck strength been an area of focus lately? Why are people so obsessed with getting stronger necks? I know we had talked before and mentioned that you like MMA fighting is starting to gain popularity, and with jujitsu and other forms of combat, sometimes having neck strength is really beneficial. But I guess why has neck strength been an area of focus?
It's kind of funny when we had talked about it. I put it all together. Like, there's just so many things coming together at the right time for a neck strengthening product that it feels like I'm just kind of riding a wave. Like you said, jujitsu and mixed martial arts is gaining in popularity, and it feels like that is because of a few very key podcasts of jujitsu practitioners that are really pushing their sport. And so neck strengthening is obviously very important in that sport because there's so much physical contact up in that area, and you can't have your head being a little bobblehead. So, from that standpoint, neck strengthening is important. Then you have sports like Formula One driving, where there's a couple of Formula One drivers that just purchased the Neckslevel because they saw the opportunity to strengthen their neck in another way, right? So these guys are driving their amazing supercar at 240 miles an hour, and then they have to stop on a dime, and they're seeing like 5 Gs of force going through their body. So of course your head wants to go exactly where it used to be, and the G forces at that level are ridiculous. So they're doing so much neck strengthening to be able to keep their head in the same position and not be flailing around. So there's Formula One. Then you have soccer, football, other rugby, other sports where concussions, neck pain, whiplash, all that stuff kind of comes together. And there's so much research going on right now that is showing that neck strength plays a role in head acceleration. It plays a role in the forces seen if there's a head contact. So all these things are like pointing towards strengthen the neck, strengthen the neck, strengthen the neck. And I guess I'm the beneficiary of that.
Well, thankfully, right? And I think, physical therapy has always kind of focused on neck strength in some way or another, but it's, I guess in physical therapy terms, why is neck strength so important? You started talking a little bit about the like acceleration and deceleration and just having resistance in different directions. Why is it important to have neck strength?
Yeah, I could look at it, you can answer that in so many ways. I think it's important to have strength around any joint that is painful, right? So if you have shoulder pain, what are we going to do? We're going to strengthen the rotator cuff muscles. That's almost a guarantee. So the same argument, can be made for any joint in the body, right? You got knee pain, you're going to want to go after the quadriceps. That's just what we've learned as physical therapists is, adding strength, adding muscle activation, getting muscles firing in that region of symptom seems to have an effect. And I don't think we can say exactly why strengthening a muscle at a specific area can get rid of the pain in itself. But we know that to be true now. And we know that there are specific muscles for each region that we should hit. The deep neck flexors for the cervical spine seem to be particularly important. And then with the Neckslevel, what's interesting is you can target the deep neck flexors, but then you can go more global. So if you want to get all the muscles in the neck activated, like 63% of the neck muscles have a role in rotation. So if you want to get the rotators going, you're going to hit almost every muscle in the neck. And blood flow activation, brain activation for the motor cortex in that area. I don't know what's going on, but it seems like adding strength, getting the muscles firing has a analgesic effect.
Well, certainly helps with pain relief, but also I think one thing that I try to communicate with patients is you have to train your body for life. And if you're using your neck and you're turning your head and you're doing all these things, but you've never put yourself in a scenario where your neck's in a loaded position while rotating, while doing something else, it's going to open up the opportunity for you to get injured. And so if you can train with resistance, like your product will be able to do, your body will be like, oh, hey, like I've been here before. And I see that with even like NFL running backs where they'll train, what's the most common injury with a running back? It's like an ACL tear, right? And the common injury for that is internal rotation on a plant foot. And so I see a lot of these NFL running backs, and what they practice is they'll practice resisted internal and external rotation at the femur. And it's so that way they can get used to being in that position, get strong in that position. And then when they go come game time, the chances of them getting injured are probably a lot less. I don't have any stats to back this up, but it would seem that it would be a lot less if you had never done that before. And then boom, you're going to snap something.
100%. Yeah, I'm training for a marathon right now, and I can tell you that if I don't run long distances prior to trying to run 26 miles, my body will die. Like I will get destroyed. You
Right.
have to train for it. Yeah, you have to expose yourself to that. And so, yeah, strengthen the neck so that it can be ready for the forces it's about to see in whatever sport you're participating in.
Unless you're David Goggins, then you can just run out and just do whatever you want for for ungodly amounts of time.
Yes. And Cam Hanes. Yeah, those two
Yeah.
have exclusive rights.
And that's why I like the resistance bands, though. Just like it can be gradual exposure, right? We can start with isometrics and then we can work into concentric contractions and eccentrics, right? And it can kind of bring you graded exposure to neck strengthening exercises. And, I want to get into exactly more of the product and what directions can you provide resistance? You already alluded to rotation and then cervical neck flexors, but I guess what are the all possibilities for the machine?
Yeah, so you can work on the rotation. That can be through mobility exercises and strengthening exercises. Then within the rotation category, you can do eccentrics, you can do concentrics, you can combine the two. Then you have the isometrics world where you're applying a load and then you maintain the position. You can do that in any specific range of the neck that you want. And then there's also lateral flexor strengthening. So you can position the board such that you'll work on the lateral flexors, and then you'll position the board vertically or parallel with the spine, and you can go through flexor and extensor training.
And again, I'll provide show links so you guys can take a look at it. But overall, again, you're in a supine position, doing all these exercises. And from a standpoint of physical therapists who may want to get involved with this, is this an intervention that we provide early in the early stages of rehab, or is this something that we do later? Like, is grandma going to be able to use this machine, so to speak?
Yeah, it's funny to talk about the device that is used in my clinic because it seems so biased because, obviously it's going to feel weird coming from the inventor, but there are, several other therapists in my clinic. And I can tell you that I'll just say what they do. It doesn't matter what I do. They will use the device on everyone. So if they have someone who's older, they will put them on the device for range of motion. Say they have neck stiffness. This is a nice way to stretch the neck in a gravity eliminated position, and say they'll go right to that one. They know it's not going to bother them. It's probably going to improve their range of motion. So they have that. Then, you have the young female, skinny neck, just got out in a car accident, whiplash injury. Then you have to do the strengthening exercises. And so they're doing it for her as well. And then, as I mentioned, F1 drivers, we have, NFL teams using the device now, NHL teams using the device. So it's been kind of amazing to see how many different people this can impact, right? So it can take the little kid, the old grandma, and then the professional athlete. And so I feel quite lucky, I guess.
Yeah, and using it across many populations, I'm sure will give you so much data that you can kind of analyze and use to create kind of an idea of where like this is able to be used by everyone, and you can say like this is benefited to, again, for all the way up to Formula One, but also just everyday people who can benefit from general neck strengthening exercises.
Yeah. And of course, the people I want to help the most is, the everyday person with neck pain. And, that's what this product is for. Those were the original people testing the prototypes, and it's for them. So it's for the person who comes into the PT clinic with neck pain. They need some strengthening. They need some stretching. It's for them. It's just an added bonus that, all these, sexy places are also using it.
Sure. And are you tracking data as you're going along to perhaps use it for research? Because I know you had mentioned concussions, and I remember watching a few lectures on how concussions can change the way muscle orientation is, and that there's like fat deposits in muscles, and the type 2 fibers are decreasing, and nerdy stuff. But anyway, it's changing basically the muscle structure. And I guess, where do you see more implications other than just concussion?
Well, we got a couple of research studies going now. One is at the West Virginia University. The PT, some of the PT students there are pairing up with one of the researchers, and they're going to do a surface level EMG study to see, okay, so we're doing these different exercises on the Neckslevel. What muscles are getting activated, and to what extent are they activated? So that would be the first thing that we're actually going to get published. So that's exciting in itself. I'm pretty confident there's some neck muscles that are turning on there, but to put it in writing and to get it published will be a good thing. Then we have some research that's hopefully going to get started at another university. I can't say where yet, but they study, youth soccer athletes, and then the impact of neck strength on initiation of headers. So youth soccer players aren't heading the ball up until around 11 years old. And, compared to me, who grew up, I played soccer as well. That was never a thought. You could head the whole time, but now at 11 years old, these youth players are initiating headers. And so they have no idea what they're doing. These size 4, size 5 balls are just smashing them in their head. And so the researcher that I'm working with is so excited about this product, because he sees it as a way to stabilize the neck, get the neck muscles ready to take on the blows that they're going to see with the soccer ball, and hopefully save them from some concussions.
Well, hopefully, right? Yeah, that'd be ideal. And ironically enough, concussions I think are more prevalent in soccer than a lot of other professional sports, believe it or not.
Yeah, that is my understanding as well.
And I guess, did you personally see outcomes faster after you started implementing your product in the clinic? This is before maybe selling to other people. When you first started using it, did you see outcomes improve in regards to maybe earlier pain relief, improvements in mobility? I guess, what did you see?
Yeah, what's funny is, so I'm COVID is at the height, and I'm just getting these devices out into clinics, right? So all my PT school friends were kind enough to take in devices to their clinic and just experiment with it. Like, so first it was just try it out on yourself. Like, all right, dude, what did you think of that? Like, this is this brand new product. Like, here's what I'm trying to do. What do you think? Do I have anything going here? And they're like, all right, yeah, we'll try it out. And then they put their patients on it. I didn't have the device in my clinic at the time for various reasons, like, politically, it just wasn't the right move for me. And so they had devices across the country at my different friends' clinics, and I was getting input from them before I was getting any input for myself, right? So they're putting their patients on it, and they're like, "Dude, this is amazing, man! Like, I got one patient who wants to buy it from you. She said she's been to PT clinics for 10 years and she's never seen anything like it." And so I'm getting all excited, but I'm not even using it in the clinic at the time. And so the feedback I got was that, like, yes, this is a new way. This is a simpler way. This is an effective way. And, PTs seemed happy using it. I can't say with confidence, any specific details. I can say that, patients enjoy using it. They can feel results the very first time. And, that was something that I was hearing from the other PTs, not myself. Because again, it feels weird. I am not a natural born salesman. It feels weird promoting my product as a physical therapist as well. So
Well, it's probably almost better that it happened that way, right? Because if you were doing it and then you're the only one that's saying that they're getting results, they're like, yeah, sure, man. Like, I'm sure it really works, right? But it was
right.
these other people who were saying, like, yeah, we're seeing a lot of great success with it. And so I think that it was almost better that it happened that way.
Yeah. And one thing that I started doing uh, probably like a year ago was trying to connect with every patient from my friends' clinics that received a benefit, that was like that sat up from their first or second use and like, wow, this is really going to be something for me. The people that had a amazing result, I would connect with them. And I'd talk with them on the phone. I'd say, hey, would you be willing to sit down with me for a Zoom interview like you and I are doing right now? And I recorded it, and they talked us through their whole story. And then they said what the Neckslevel did for them. And I did like 5 or 6 of these. All of a sudden I was like, wait a second, like I got something here. Like, it wasn't until I heard actual patient stories from, clinics that I was not involved with, that they said, yeah, this was really helpful for me. And I got it on tape, and I was like, okay, I have proof now. And these are all still on YouTube now. And, Rochelle Gonzalez texted me yesterday, like, different patients are still reaching out to me, and things are great. It's amazing to connect with patients without ever meeting them, and to have helped them in this strange way.
I mean, that's fantastic. I mean, it's great news to hear for your product and just early success. I think having put out such a product and getting that results had to be a great feeling, especially like relatively new out of PT school too.
Yeah, there's so many ways in which I feel spoiled in how this has all gone for me, because I feel like I don't deserve it to have gone so smoothly to this point. Like you said, I'm a new PT. I didn't have much experience. And then this first physical therapy product I try out seems to be effective, and the market's there and ready for it right now. It's like, how did this all happen? It just feels too good to be true.
And perfect timing, part of success is luck. And so, if you get to ride that wave when you can, right?
That's right. And that is not to say that I'm a millionaire sitting back in
No.
my mansion at this point, but I just launched the company 3 months ago. So prior to that, this thing was a secret. Like, you couldn't find it on the internet or anything like that. But so far in these 3 months, I feel like it couldn't be going much better.
Well, I appreciate you coming on the podcast to share it because it's so new. I'm hoping more people can learn about it as quickly as possible. So it's great to have you on. And I guess one question that I do have is regards to just ability for patients to do their exercise, because one problem that all PTs have is like getting the patient to do their exercise. And if the exercise machine is at the clinic, how is that translating over to a home exercise program? So like, are there alternative exercises that you can provide for patients in the meantime when they're doing them at home, or I guess how does that work?
It's a question that I've received, like, I can tell you every single time I've received it in the last month, and I still don't have a fantastic answer for it. The product was invented because there was nothing to do at home. There was nothing to do in the clinic. And so I am now becoming more and more aware that I need to have another option for patients to use at home, right? So maybe it's a different product in itself. Maybe we put together some slide board that can be created by a person at home. I don't have a great way for patients to strengthen the neck that's similar to the Neckslevel at home, because there's nothing like it, and it doesn't feel correct if you're not using the actual product. So I'm working on it. I can't wait to be able to offer something for patients at home. It's a priority for me.
Well, when I originally thought about it, it was interesting because, when you go to, it's just like if you're training chest, you don't train chest like 5 or 6 days a week, right? Like you train it maybe like once, twice, if you're really ambitious, 3 times a week, but
Right.
you're really not doing it every single day. And so I was wondering, like, well, if you're seeing a patient twice a week early on, and then maybe like once a week after that, you can probably provide the same benefit with the neck strengthening exercises, and then you can kind of progress them out, or at least have exercises after for them to do.
Yeah, I didn't want to use that cop out answer because I thought that was like that seemed the most logical to me. I don't have a great product for them at home, but you can use a strengthening tool twice a week and be highly effective with it. Like, how often do you need to use it, right? Like you
Mhm.
said, if you train the chest every day, good luck. You got to take breaks. And so the 2 times a week seems to be that sweet spot. I can speak from all the patients that have benefited from it. None of them had it at home, and they only came into the PT clinic a few times a week.
Yeah, and I think it's a good point. And some exercise I'm learning more with my practice as well, is that sometimes you don't need to do exercises, especially strengthening exercises, every single day. Like you don't need to be squatting every single day. You don't need to be doing stairs every single day. You can kind of modify and adjust. And I think there needs to be a little bit maybe more education in that piece of monitoring volume, when all volume is just weight times sets times reps. And perhaps there needs to be a better job of understanding, like, okay, not exercise doesn't need to be done every day, at least for perhaps an injured area, right?
Right. It's this weird balance where for certain tasks and certain exercises, like if we're going to do like a heavy squat with a patient, we obviously don't want to do that every day. But it's super reasonable that I have an older gentleman who has weak legs, who I'm trying to get them stronger, help them go upstairs. It's super reasonable in my head that we do 3 sets of 10 of sit to stands per day,
Right.
right? Like, why not get those muscles going every single day? Uh, I guess it's the fact that it's not a load that is so severe that the muscle is going to be damaged and it's going to need recovery. So I agree with you, and I think that the next level, twice a week strengthening, seems to be the right balance at this point.
And it's doing the right thing. And I think the sit to stands is like an endurance thing rather than a strengthening exercise. And I don't think we've ever strengthened our neck muscles like we would be able to do with this tool. So it may be better for us to kind of keep it low key early on, and then you could advance. And maybe if you want to do it every day, you can, but maybe in the beginning. And it seems like you've been having success, so perhaps this is the way in the model that we need to follow.
Yeah, and then of course from the other side of it is the range of motion exercises that you can do on the next level, or that you can just do for your patients with neck pain. If you want to get them going on a thoracic mobility program, like that certainly makes sense to do it every single day, more than once a day, right? So I'm on my chirp wheel or my foam roller as much as I can. I'm getting people to manip my thoracic spine as much as possible. Like, there's no reason to not have that thing as mobile as I can get it.
Right. For sure. And like, I guess who is utilizing this? You had mentioned your friends are at their PT clinics are using it, but who else has been the beneficiaries of using this?
Yeah, so we have physical therapy clinics, and now that number is growing, and we're in more and more states. And I can now, it's amazing, I can kind of point out the clinics that have it in different states, and it's very exciting. So we have PT clinics. Then more recently as well would be the chiropractic clinics. Some chiropractors have a model where they'll involve some exercise, or they have a gym perhaps attached to their clinic, and so they of course see the opportunity to strengthen the neck. And so chiropractors who involve exercise in their model, they enjoy the product. Then we have the professional sports teams, so that NFL, the NHL, both of those specialties obviously have a lot of concussion, whiplash, and they're using it for the next strengthening early on in their rehab, because obviously these guys are huge and they want to get them doing functional exercises as soon as possible. But they've enjoyed the next level, and in the earlier mid stages. I was just emailing with one of the NFL team's athletic trainers, and like, yeah, man, we're using it consistently. Got one guy who's been using it. I'm just like, oh my god, this is a dream come true. So we have an NFL, NHL, and then the Formula One drivers using it as well. I think that about wraps it up, outside of the patients that have taken a particular liking and they reached out to me and asked to purchase one.
And I'm sure as more people learn about it, I'm certain more and more organizations are going to be like, we need to get this tool for sure.
No, let's hope so.
And I guess, are there goals for expansion, and are there other ideas maybe in the works that maybe you can't talk about, but are there ideas for other tools that perhaps are on the works?
Yeah. Yes. Ideas for expansion. Can't wait to get this in every single PT clinic in the country. Like that's the goal. It's like this becomes the staple. When you think of neck rehab, you think Neckslevel. Like, okay, we have to treat this person with neck pain. Go grab the Neckslevel. That's the goal. And there's 70,000 PT clinics, 70,000 chiropractic clinics in the country. Then obviously there's a world market outside of that. So there's exciting opportunities. Additionally, I would love to be able to provide a consumer model, right? So there are 300 million people in the US, not 70,000 PT clinics, 300 million people. And how many of them have neck pain? Probably in the millions. So, as you can see, if you just Google or Amazon search neck pain product, there are hundreds of these devices. So clearly there's a demand for something that works for neck pain. And I'm hoping that because there are so many products on there, perhaps there isn't one good one yet. And I would love to be able to offer a legitimate neck strengthening, neck rehab product to the consumer.
I'm sure you'll get that out and get it underway relatively soon. So hopefully optimistic that will be, I'll be seeing it in many more clinics to come.
I hope so. I hope so. It was really funny. My friend from high school, she just texted me this picture, and she was like, there was a Neckslevel on a counter. She had just walked into a random PT clinic, and she took a picture of it and sent it to me. She was like, "Did I just find a Neckslevel in the wild?" Because she knew what I was doing, and
Right.
and I looked at the picture. I was like, "No, that's my clinic.
Oh
You
my
just showed
God.
up at my clinic." Yeah, and she just didn't know that I worked there. It was funny because I guess that will happen someday, but not quite yet.
I'm sure it'll be in the future for sure. And when you already said it's already been in NFL and NHL, so and in Formula One, so I'm pictures will be coming out relatively soon for sure.
It's so funny because the easiest places to sell the device are what you would think would be the hardest locations to get one in, right? So like right now, I'm direct messaging with a PT who works in the UFC and in the US Olympics, and it's so easy to get in contact with these super elite PTs and get it into NFL teams. Like that's the easy part because they see the product and money isn't as much of an issue. So for a $900 device, they can just snag it up if they think it's going to help their guys, and they do. It's the PT clinic that is, weary of change and leery of change, excuse me. And, maybe they're a little bit more skeptical of a new product. And so that's what's going to take time. The early adopters are going to have their day. And now it's, getting into the more hesitant physical therapists. That'll be the interesting part.
It's kind of like that with anything, right? Even just like when Google first came out, people were kind of like, a search engine. What? I'm not going to buy stock in Google. That's ridiculous. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, data is important. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
and what are you, I know we've been talking about expansion and other tools, I guess. Are there other things that you're excited about in your professional career, things coming up that you're excited to get moving?
Yeah, I mean, so I work in a physical therapy clinic as a clinician, 40 hours a week, and then I have Neckslevel on the side, but that takes up 40 or more hours of the other part of my week. So I'm very busy. I work a lot. I'm extremely excited and optimistic that I'll be able to resign from my job as a physical therapist at some point down the road and have Neckslevel become like the primary work in my life. From there, I would love to have some more time independence, be able to focus more on exercise, be able to hang out with my friends, family, cook, enjoy the good things in life a little bit differently than I do now because I'm a bit of a robot. I'm a bit underslept and I work a little bit too much, but I'm optimistic that I'll be able to get some better balance here in the future as I shift from two jobs to one.
Yeah, and I'm sure it'll be worth it, especially as more patients benefit from the product. So it'd be well deserved at that point.
Yeah, and you're doing something similar, right? So you're working as a physical therapist full time, and then you have this amazing podcast going.
Yeah, it certainly is time consuming. You definitely have to get better at managing your time. Unfortunately, this is not where a product is kind of an end result, whereas more and more people know about it, it can become more exponential in regards to just return on investment. Whereas this is continued effort and making improvements and getting more people and talking to more people, which I love. And I really enjoy talking to people like yourself and other providers who are doing amazing things. So it's something that I enjoy, and hopefully I can continue to shift in that direction to provide valuable content to other people. So that way, I can shift focus towards things that I'm like extremely passionate about versus something that I enjoy. Because I love PT, right? And I'm sure you do too. And you like seeing patients. It's just sometimes it's just like with physicians as well. There's things that you may be passionate about that you want to incorporate on top of what you already do.
Yeah. And treating is one thing, and yes, it's very enjoyable to help out a person that comes to you at a time of need. Um, but there's so many ways that you can have an impact on them. It doesn't need to be in a clinic, and you can use your skills as a physical therapist in so many ways. So, once again, I just encourage everyone who's in the clinic working 40 hours a week and sees no way out to understand that they have a superpower, and they can deploy that superpower in more ways than just treating in the clinic.
Yeah, and you almost are able to help more people in what we're doing, right? Because you can build this product and you can go to many clinics and you can help many patients, whereas you're just seeing one patient at a time. And let's say you have 30 to 40 patients a week, not that you're not helping people, but the quantity of people you can help with me would be like the podcast. People can listen and gain information. And from you, people can have a device that's valuable and can go across the country for people to benefit from.
Yeah, man. Like, think about this conversation. Like, this is going to be recorded, and then that can be sent around a billion times. Like, and you don't have to put in any more additional work. And that could be, a billion people helped as opposed to 10 patient, or I guess just one patient in the time that we spend talking about this, right?
Right. And that's why there's a space for people who want to continue building. And you like you had said before, there's always something more to do, and we need to recognize how important our skill set is in physical therapy, but also don't be afraid to use that skill set with something else so that way more people can benefit from our skills.
Yeah. And it's just a great opportunity to, participate in the world. Like, I don't know about you, but I've learned so much about business and, capitalism and developing a product, engineering, advertising, marketing, the way people think about products. And I feel like I've stepped into the world, and, kind of like I'm naked. Like, I've never been a businessman. Here I am with this new product. I have no idea what I'm doing. And you just slowly pick things up as you go, and get yourself dressed up and prepared to take on the world. It feels really good because you're so vulnerable early on, but you just slowly add a weapon, add a tool, and you just become a little bit more lethal every day. You look stupid every day, but then that mistake is done. I think there's really something to be said for entrepreneurship. A small business owner, like, you're really just putting yourself out there, providing a service, and hopefully helping people.
How did you overcome that fear early on?
Well, it's ongoing. Like, it's an ongoing fear. It's not like it's gone now. The fear has changed so many times now. So early on, it was showing someone this ugly prototype and then saying, "Well, will you lie on this and use it?" And they're like, "That thing?" Like that, that was the fear earlier on. And then, okay, then you have a good product. And then the fear was, will you buy this product? And, the fear of rejection, that they're going to say no. That's the newer rejection. And then, going to, professional sports teams, or trying to get different models going where, maybe they're doing rentals, or clinics are using it in different ways. There's just so much rejection that I eat every single day. And so, the fear for me is just like, well, there goes another opportunity. You blew it. And they said no. And you just like, what's funny is, like, in the last month, I've had enough no's coming into me that I'm starting to feel better about no. Like, I kind of like enjoy getting the no, because it's like, all right, punch me in the face, but I'm gonna keep walking forward. Like, I
Right.
know I know I can move on from this. And the more times you're rejected, the better you feel when you're rejected.
Do you feel like the no's have started to dictate, like if you're going in the right direction or not? Like if you're like, this is getting more no's, maybe I should go that way. Or if there's like not a lot of like resistance there, like maybe this isn't something that I should be pursuing.
100%. I have a mentor who said, it very wisely. A no is just market research. It's all market research, baby. Like if you fail, just market research. They're just giving you feedback. And so, yeah, you just take what they tell you and you pivot just the tiniest bit, or you reword your email, or, you change your tactic a little bit. And once I understood that I can't take it personal, like it's not a reflection of me, it's a reflection of this business model or this product. Like, don't take it personal. They're not saying like, Scott, this is bad. Like, and you're bad. You're a bad person. It's not like that. Like,
You're
but that's
absolutely
hard to
trash. Get
step
away
out
from me.
of.
Yeah, I'm sure it is.
Yeah. So lots of fear early on, still very fearful to this day, but just getting the reps in with no, it helps a lot.
That's great. And I think more people who are, maybe on the edge of kind of, maybe they have an idea in their head and they're working that typical 9 to 5 in the PT clinic and they're like, I don't know, like this job is comfortable and maybe I shouldn't do it. Well, maybe that's the opportunity that you need, or at least that's something that's telling you like you need to go do it. Like go, like just try it. Like spend time on the weekend, go do something after work, like whatever you feel like is in your gut to do it, like go and do it.
100%. And I would say to people, don't underestimate the power of 1 hour in the day, right? So like if you just commit 1 hour to something and just early on, just touch it a little bit every day. Like you're not committing to it. You're just touching it every day, feeling it out. Like when I first started prototyping, my goal, and I made this after like the first week, was to do something for it every day. Whether I was just like buy one thing or like do one little test, just something, one thing every day. And that hasn't stopped since, right? So I'm obviously doing one thing every day now. I'm working 7 days a week, multiple hours a day on it. So that has allowed me to build up some momentum, because I didn't start the expectation super high. It's just do something for yourself. See if this is going to work out. Give it a shot.
Just getting it started. And did you have a set of goals that you kind of stuck to when you were early on, or was it kind of just like doing the hour thing where you're like, I'm just gonna touch it every day. I'm just gonna do something different.
The goal was always like the next step in the process. Like, okay, you're in the thick of prototyping right now. The goal is to make a reproducible product that looks good and functions. And then once you have the reproducible product that looks good and functions, then it's building up all the material to surround it, like the website, the Instagram, the YouTube videos. So there's always just the next thing in mind. And so that's the goal for me right now. That's to initiate online advertisements. So I'm going to start running online ads on Facebook and Instagram, targeting physical therapists, chiropractors, to sign up for our free trial. I mail them a device, they try it for 4 weeks, then they decide if they want to buy it. That's the goal right now. That's the next thing on my mind. And it seems to be working.
Well, certainly the future is bright, and we're running down to the end here. And I want to thank you again for coming on the podcast. But these last few questions here are part of the closing remarks, and this is called the Health Me to Health You. And if you're ready for the question, the first question I have, and I ask this with everybody, if you had the attention of everyone in the world for 30 seconds, what would you say?
I guess I would say step out into the world and try not to hide anymore.
Just don't be afraid to kind of get out there and do the thing that you want to do.
Give it a shot. Failure doesn't feel as bad as you think it will. Step on out there and give it a go.
What book do you recommend, whether a book you're reading now or in the past?
How to Win Friends and Influence People. This book was authored by Dale Carnegie, and I think it came out in like the 30s or the 40s or something like that. It's super old. And I read that book while I was in PT school. And I'm not someone who is like naturally like an empath or anything like that. Like I don't automatically put myself in the perspective of others, but reading that book and having it explained to me why people would like you or why people wouldn't like you, and just having it like just force fed into me, like, this is the way to have people like you. Remember their name, like be modest. Don't brag to their face. When they do something well, congratulate them on it and point it out to others. If they do something bad, don't scold them in front of others. Like all these obvious things, but like to have it all in like a set of like 100 pages, it was just like a life-changing book. And it really has changed the way that I meet people, how I interact with people, because every single person is an opportunity for a friend, an opportunity for someone to help you down the road. Like you really don't want to have any enemies.
Yeah, I love that book too. I had that book as well, and it certainly when you said remember their name, I'm like, God, I'm still awful at that. Like I remember everything about them, you know, if they have kids, if they're, you know, what school they went to, but then they're like their name, like their name. What the heck is their name?
Yeah.
So I got to get better at that myself.
Yeah. Yes. 100%. I'm far from perfect in that domain as well.
And lastly, where can people learn more about you and Next Level? I'm going to provide show links, but I guess for reference, where would people go?
Yeah, nextlevel.com is the homepage, and then our Instagram is Next Level. We're on Facebook at Next Level Device, and then my personal is Scott Dickenson on LinkedIn and underscore Scott Dickenson on Instagram. It's so funny to say that because all I hear is these amazing people like where can we reach yet? And then you hear Tim Ferriss asking people that, and it's this amazing person. It's funny to be that person now. Obviously, long way to go, but thanks for having me.
Of course, Scott. Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate it.